Hello, and welcome to Take Two. This is the show that takes a look back at previous guests from my Friday conversations with Chris Edwards over on IG. I'm your host, Chris Edwards, and I've got another amazing guest for you today. Today's guest is Kerry Abner, the CEO and founder of Manhattan Gray. What's up, Kerry? How you doing?
And Chris, man, appreciate you for having me.
Well, thank you for saying yes, as usual.
Oh, already, man, you know how we get down. Got to support the team, the home team.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when we last visited and did our live, it was almost a year ago, January 6th of 2023, I believe it was.
Okay, yeah, right at the top of the year. That's great.
The top, yeah, it was
Yeah,
the top of another year.
yeah.
So
Brand.
so we're on another platform, and I want people to get introduced to you because I think what you're doing and your story is really unique and special. So let's just kind of go back a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about your past and where you're coming from and how you got to Manhattan Gray and why you founded Manhattan Gray. So talk about your previous work history and actually what you still do today.
Yeah. So I work at a major record label. I'm on the global marketing team, specifically in catalog. So I have the opportunity of working with some really amazing artists and albums that I grew up on in the 90s, early 2000s. And I basically reimagine and reintroduce these iconic records to the social media world of today, like on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all of that. So when you're thinking about an album that dropped in like 96, completely missed, all of the amazing technology tools that we have today. So I have the opportunity to reintroduce those albums to these new platforms.
Wow, that's awesome. And how are you using those particular skill sets and tools in what you're doing with Manhattan Gray? And I know we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but I think that's really important, that connection between the two.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, marketing is marketing. It's just a different product, right? So on one hand, I'm marketing the product of an artist and or an album and their brand and likeness and images, or their audio recordings. And then on the other side, I'm actually marketing a hair product, a hair care product. So essentially, in my world, it's the same tactics and strategies of the tools, but it's different messaging and different audiences that I'm speaking to. And I think that's where the opportunity lies for me as a storyteller. So I think marketers are more so storytellers and really tapping into the emotional resonance that really connects with the, whether that's a problem that we're trying to solve or celebration of an iconic record. So it's just really about translating the story in the most authentic form, and the tools kind of work themselves. I just gotta put the storyline into the tools, and I'm straight.
Okay. So listen, talking about story, how about you tell us about the story of how Manhattan Gray was founded and why it was founded?
Yeah. So I've been graying. Yeah, I'll show y'all my hair just so that it all comes together. I've been graying since I was about 20 years old. So, and honestly, Manhattan Gray was kind of born out of a sense of insecurity. If I'm being transparent and vulnerable in the interview, it's just I've been graying since I was 20 years old, and um, the narrative about gray hair is rooted around ageism, right? So it's like, the comments that I was getting was like, "You too young to be having gray hair," and or "Who's stressing you out?" and "What you doing with all that gray hair?" So it turned out to be you know, this sense of insecurity, to be honest, that kind of stirred up in my spirit, and I wanted to kind of shy away from it. So I started to wear a lot of hats and hoodies and things to kind of cover up my hair for as long as I can remember completely. I think I still do it to this day for that reason, subconsciously. But it was kind of started there. And at one point, I had dyed my hair one time. My barber, I was making a transition from Atlanta to New York when I first accepted my position in the music industry. And my barber, on my way out, as my last haircut in Atlanta, he was like, "Man, you want me to dye your hair so I can, you want me to just dye you up and send you on your way?" And at the time, I was like, "Yeah, cool. Like, let's try it." But it was like as soon as it was done, it was the most inauthentic thing to me. I just felt funny. I didn't feel like myself. I felt super lame for doing it. So at that point, that was the decision to, okay, we're not going to dye our hair no more. So let's go ahead and figure out how to better take care of my hair. And I was a traditional. I don't want to speak for all men, but I was the traditional stereotype of men of, having no real hair care routine, 6-in-1 shampoo, uh, thick hair grease, brush, thick, wave cap on and be on your way. So I started from zero. I had no foundational hair care knowledge. So I went to Google, started looking up different products that were specifically about managing and maintaining healthy gray hair. And I couldn't really find any product that mentioned gray hair was about covering it up, hiding it, dyeing it, getting rid of it, and or it was like some guy on the box with his hair slicked back, and it was like Silver Fox, and I was like, bro, none of this is reaching me from a
Right.
cultural emotional level. So I think that was my first light bulb idea that I was going to start a product that was um, about embracing your gray hair, kind of keeping it,
Hmm.
moisturized and keeping it healthy, but also that spoke to me culturally, from a packaging perspective, from a messaging perspective. And I think that's where I started from.
Yeah, no, I can totally associate with you in your story. As we've had these conversations before, and my story is I started graying when I was about 16, when I was in high
Okay.
school. And
Yep.
it's hereditary. You can't beat your DNA and your genes. It's just part of it. And I didn't, unlike you, I didn't let it really affect me in the way that it affected you. I just kind of embraced it. I thought it was pretty cool. And I think because of the fact that excuse me, I didn't have like a full head of like salt and pepper hair at the time. I had a patch, and it wasn't even gray. It was just stark white.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of embraced it. It was kind of cool, whatever. But I grayed really, really young. And but even though I was accepting of it, I still fell into the same stereotype that you did. Like, well, in order to not look older and feel more youthful, I would dye. Like I dyed my patch, I dyed my beard because like my mustache and my beard grayed very young as well in my early 20s.
Okay.
And everyone would always ask me, well, how old are you? And, I never saw any products out there that were made for me to, help me the hair care. It was either you dye it or you just leave it alone. And,
Right.
you want to have options. And then one of the things I've loved about Manhattan Gray and you and your story is that um, you provided a product that really just caters towards not just Black people or not just people with gray hair, but also men. Because I think that a lot of times, especially when it comes to skincare or beauty, men are always left out of the equation. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so that's why I've always loved your product and what you're trying to do with Manhattan Gray. So continue the story. You've told why the necessity for it, but how did you cultivate it? Like, how did you create the products and how did you move it forward?
Yeah, I mean, originally Manhattan Gray was a men's product. It became a unisex product because so many women bought it. And then I was just
Yeah.
like, "Okay, well, this is, I always, as a marketer, I always kind of went with what the market wanted, like follow the data, right? That's what we kind of
Hmm.
get trained at. It's like, I could put something out there all I want, but if the revenue and the data is showing me that this is a unisex product for both men and women, then that's what it is. So that's an interesting point of that. It's definitely, it was in mind built for as a man. That's like you can see the packaging. It's very, kind of sleek and stark, if you will, but it is definitely a unisex product at this point. Where I started was I wanted to figure out if this was actually a problem, right? I wanted to understand, was I the only person experiencing the challenges of having gray hair, right? So gray hair can be a little bit more brittle. It's a little bit more flaky. It itches. It's just one of those, it's dry, right? So it was just one of those gut instincts to be like, well, am I the only person having this problem? Let me go figure out what to do with this. And I read a book called The Lean Startup one day. and they talked about MVP, which is stands for the most your minimal viable product. And that's like basically the idea of like trying to validate that you have an opportunity with the lowest barrier of entry, like the lowest
Mhm.
amount of money you can spend, the lowest amount of energy you can go into this, the lowest amount of resources, but just kind of make sure that you're validating your product and your idea. So I created a survey, and it had about 5 questions on there, and the 5 questions somewhere were around, what is the number one challenge you're having with your gray hair? What products do you use for your gray hair? um just different questions like that. I don't remember all of them, but just different questions like that. And I started to send it out to like my dad's friends. So I knew that like if I start with my pops, and I start with his, my uncles and their homeboys, I put together like a list of 25 guys because again it was going to be a men's product, and they all came back generally with the same answers. Like they were saying that their biggest challenge is dryness, their biggest challenges were itching, with their biggest challenges that they just looked dull and ashy, and it breaks off easily. A lot of men were saying that they didn't have products that they were using. They were either using women's products and or something that their wife or girlfriend gave them, or they were using just general on the market products that wasn't specifically about gray hair. They were just using natural hair care products.
Mhm.
So I took the information that I got from that, and not only looked at the competitors, they were saying, all the top hair care brands, and I went and looked at their packaging, looked at their messaging, looked at what their images looked like. And I never really saw myself even in those, even at that high level mainstream products. It was none of these guys have gray hair. It was still, the very young, societal standard of beauty when it comes to like men, right? So the 6'5" guy with the muscles and the clean fade and his hair is
Yeah.
black. Well, it was just dope. But I was like, man, that's still not where I'm sitting. And I think that there was still an opportunity there. So once I created the survey, I got the data back, the answers back. And one of the interesting questions at the end was like, if I pursued this opportunity, if I actually pursued the idea of creating a product that was specifically for gray hair, could I follow up with you about it? And would you want to be notified that I saw this through? And if so, leave me your email address. And that kind of gave me my first, if you will, my email list or points of contact once I got it to the finish line. So yeah, that's like the first steps that I took, was starting a survey, asking around, was this an actual issue? And then I moved on to like finding a manufacturer and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So what year was Manhattan Gray founded, and what was the first product that you put out?
The concept started like November, December 2019, and the first actual launch with the product in hand was on my birthday, July 31st, 2020.
Okay.
And I put out
Now,
the vegan the moisture pomade. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I put out the moisture pomade.
no, that's all right. So I remember us. I don't remember how we actually met. I know it was online. I don't remember
Mhm.
if it was me following you or you, vice versa. But I remember that you had sent me a package, and it was probably during that summer, during the initial launch. And I remember using the product. Now, in full disclosure, I was using another product which I won't mention, but I started using the Manhattan Green. The one thing that I noticed that it wasn't very oily like a lot of other products are. I didn't have that greasy feeling, because that's one of the things for me. I don't like that greasy feeling on my hands and like on me. So that was one of the things that attracted to me. And then we constantly had back and forth conversations about your product. And I remember you were asking me for my feedback, and I know you were asking other people that you sent the product out for their feedback. How did that feedback manifests itself in what the current product lineup is?
Yeah, I mean, it was important for me that I was making a product for a community of people, not for myself, right? So it was very intentional for me to ask questions. and make sure that like the people who would eventually be using the product and or customers of Manhattan Gray actually felt like their voices were heard and they were a part of the process of creating the formula of Manhattan Gray. Again, it was about, I knew that there was a couple of basic things, right? I knew that for me, there was certain things I just didn't know about, right? So it was like, um, when I reached out to my manufacturer, which was a process in itself, uh, it was like, how do I create something that doesn't leave a bunch of aftertouch on your hands? It's not runny. Nobody wants like oils and things running down their arm first thing in the morning. I kind of like put myself in the scenario of actually using the product, getting in the shower, washing my hair, getting out the shower, brushing my teeth, doing my grooming routine. And then when I go to put on Manhattan Gray, what was the last things that I wanted to happen? I don't want oil running all over the place. So I chilled off that. I wanted something that was easy to respond to when you read the ingredients. So when you read the ingredients, you know what they are, you know how to pronounce it. There's certain basic things that like once you read through, you feel comfortable to put this on your hair and skin, which was another really big point of mine. I wanted something that was easy to resonate with and adapt to. And one of the inspirations for Manhattan Gray was this product called Murray's. I'm gonna go ahead and say that because that was my inspiration. It was Murray's because that was the hair grease that I was using when I was coming up. It was just like this thick ass grease, but it would help get our waves when I was really young. Put on Murray's, brush your hair, put on your wave cap, do that for a couple of weeks, boom, you got waves. So I kind of understood pomade. I didn't understand hair cream. I didn't understand mousse. I didn't understand hair spritzers or none of that. I just understood pomade because it was something that it was directly in my line of sight. So once the manufacturer, I went through about 3 different iterations of Manhattan Gray from the research and development portion of it. They sent me a cream that had a bunch of ingredients in it that I couldn't, describe or couldn't pronounce, to be frank. So that was dead. They sent me a hair oil. It was running all over the place. As soon as I opened the bottle, that was dead. And she was like, well, my manufacturer at the time, the chemist, she was like, well, what do you think about a pomade? And once she said the word pomade, the light bulb went off because I connected it back to Murray's and my personal experience. And I knew that that was something that I could rock with and I understood. And then she sent me that. And then that's when I knew we had something.
Okay. So, you've had a couple iterations of like the pomade. Because I remember the first bottle that I got, you had told me, we're constantly adjusting. And then eventually, I don't know if it was a year later or several months later, but then your whole entire line, I believe now is vegan.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So what made that switch over? Was that out of necessity, or was that always the ultimate goal to make it a vegan product?
I think just being a marketer, you kind of understand like the trends, like cultural trends of the world, so that you know how to talk to people, right? And I just knew that we were living in a time like COVID was happening at this time, or like it had just right before I started it, like COVID was like starting to come out, and that was a thing. And I think culturally, everybody was just more health conscious, right? Everybody was like being mindful about the things that they were putting on their hair, their skin, what they were eating. A lot more people was, attacking the gym. There was just a big health conscious wave that was coming through, with even my generation, the generation after, the generation before. It was just everybody was starting to think about how to better take care of themselves. So I knew that if I had the opportunity to create a product that was not only effective from a hair standpoint, but also was good for your skin and hair from a ingredient standpoint, that I could articulate something that people could connect to and would want to be a part of because it was a healthier option than what was on the market at the time.
Okay. Now, you had touched a little bit on the fact that when you originally envisioned this product and started marketing it, it was really marketed towards men.
Mhm.
What was the necessity, or what made that switch to say, hey, you know what, this is really a unisex product, and it really is for men and women?
Um, well, when I first built it, I mean, it was just, I was trying to stay as close to my experience as possible. I don't think I was intentionally trying to alienate
Mm,
women from the product. I just was trying to stay as close to what I understood so that I could get the furthest along, right? Once you start talking about women products, one, I don't know anything about women's products, right? Two,
yeah.
there's so many products that women use. Like it's just a loud space to be in.
Mm,
And then I, I I was just trying to stay close to authenticity for me. So um originally I was thinking that, like, you know how in marketing there's these things that we have that's called avatars. So I used to think that if Manhattan Gray had an avatar and Manhattan Gray was a physical person, it would be Idris Elba. So Idris Elba was like my, like, if Manhattan Gray was standing in front of me as a person, it would look like Idris Elba, right? He's
okay.
clean, handsome guy. He had gray in his beard, just fresh to me. And I was living in New York at the time, so I understood like urban chic, right? People in New York, they dress game is impeccable, right? It was cold at the time. It was November, December, January, February time when I started ideating. So everybody was clean with their pea coats and their leather briefcases and Chelsea leather brown boots and everything. So I was
Yeah.
just like, man, I want my product to feel and look like that. Even from the packaging, I started to think like I pulled inspiration from colognes, like historic, the cologne packaging. Men's colognes always got this. They got fresh ass boxes. You know what I mean? So I was like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want that to be like my inspiration. So, um, but as far as this transition from it being a men's product to a unisex product was literally just when I saw the orders coming through, it was women who was buying the product, and I wasn't gonna stop them from from buying the product. So I stood down off of the messaging that this was for men and just put men and women unisex product, and just made it more about gray hair versus like whether
Yeah.
this is a men's product or a woman's product. It was just about gray hair. So if you gray, you can rock with this product because it works.
Let me ask you this, because I think that women play such an important key aspect when it comes to the beauty market and demographics. Um, what has been the feedback from women as far as being able to use your product, and what types of reactions are you getting from them?
I get a lot of different reactions. I think one of the most, and this is probably like a little off the beaten path from traditional feedback. But one woman wrote to me and she said she has alopecia, and she was like, man, I use your product
Mm,
because not only is it safe to use on my skin, and I have a alopecia condition. Your product is just helping me, one, maintenance the process of going through my condition. Also, it's safe to use, and it's just really helping me kind of embrace this period of my life and dealing with this circumstances that I'm in. So I thought that was, it kind of gave me a sense of of pride, to be honest, that I'm helping people beyond just like beauty itself, right? People felt
mhm.
safe, and I think that was a word that I didn't. Besides, like, ingredients, I wanted them to be healthy and safe to use, but to like feel emotionally safe to use a product was something that I didn't take into account, which I thought was just different for me, and it gave me a little bit more purpose behind the brand.
Yeah.
Traditionally, the feedback is been great. Women tend to write me about how light the product is. They don't feel like it's weighing their hair down. The reason that I came out with the hair oil specifically to accompany the pomade is because I did receive feedback at the time that the pomade was a little heavy on her hair, because when I first created the pomade, I thought of it in a sense of textured hair, right? It was more of like a diverse product to be a part of the textured hair community.
Mhm.
However, once she was using the pomade, she was saying it's a little heavier for her hair. So I just straight up asked her, what type of products do you use? Because she has finer, straight gray hair. And she sent me a bunch of screenshots of different products that she used that was in the hair oil space. She was like, I use oils. And then that's what made me, kind of go in the oil route as well. So the feedback has
Okay.
been huge, but it's been fun to listen to.
Okay, this is just a little side note because you had made mention of the fact that when you were creating the product and then also the marketing, the packaging of it, you look back to like men's colognes as for reference. And
Mhm.
every time I see the oil bottle, it always makes me think of, I don't remember this cologne, Fahrenheit. It was very popular in the 90s. That is
Yeah.
almost like the same color bottle. And for those that grew up in the 80s, 90s, Fahrenheit, like that was really, really popular. But it does remind me of that. And it's very, like the packaging of Manhattan Gray is very classy. It's very easy to read. And I think that's one of the things also. You can have a good product, but if it's not packaged right, um, it might not sell as well because a lot of times people are very visual and that's how they respond to consumer products. So with
Yeah.
that being said, let's talk about the marketing aspect of it because Manhattan Gray, you've got your website where people can buy your product. Is Manhattan Gray in retail stores as of yet?
Not physically. It's
Okay.
in like Walmart.com, but it's not in like physical stores. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I love, especially about the website, um, you highlight, a mix of people. You have celebrities on there. You have regular people. You have testimonials, and then full disclosure, I am one of the faces on the website at the bottom because Kerry and I have known each other for a couple of years, and I've really enjoyed using his product. And we've kind of gone back and forth over the years, and he's been gracious to put me on there with everybody else.
Of course.
But it's really nice to see the diversity, and especially it's really nice to see people of color being fully represented in your product line. Talk about how important that really was for you in regards to marketing.
Yeah, it was something that I didn't see. It was intentional for me to make sure that I created a product that, that serviced a community that I was a part of first and foremost, and also, but not to be divisive. It's very much inclusive. So like
Hmm.
when you go to the website, you see Black and brown people enjoying a product that has them in mind. I thought that it was important for me to uplift and showcase that, because when you look at traditional beauty advertisements and marketing, there's not a whole lot of that to be seen, especially if you're talking about Black and brown people with gray hair, right?
Hmm.
So it didn't dawn on me that I never saw myself in beauty marketing and advertisements until I went to go find it. And then once I tried, I noticed that it was very much not a part of my story, or just a part of the ecosystem of beauty. So it was very intentional for me to, showcase my community with gray hair in a beauty space. Um, that was that was one of the main pieces, because I feel like representation makes a big difference. Had I saw myself, maybe I wouldn't have started Manhattan Gray, right? Maybe I would
Yeah.
have, oh, okay, there's a solution already built and up and running, and I'll just buy that. But
Right.
because it gave me the fuel to, to go attempt this journey. And so lucky me, right?
Yeah. No, I'm so glad that you saw a need for yourself because in that need that you fulfilled for yourself, you opened it up for a community of people and others to be able to one have this product and fill a need for them as well. And it might have been a need that they didn't even realize that they needed. You know what I mean? So also let's talk about how you use marketing via social media because like I said, that's kind of how we met. And I think a lot of the people that you use in your marketing campaigns, you've actually found through social media. So how has social media helped you to build and to grow this Manhattan Gray product line?
Well, I believe in like word of mouth market. I believe in people. I don't believe there was never going to be enough of me shouting about Manhattan Gray to say like this thing exists and this thing works by myself, and that people were going to you know, make the transition. Not only are people already using products that they know and love and trust, that they've, kind of had a relationship with for years. So for me to just come out the woodworks with a brand and product that they've never heard of, and to be somebody that they don't know, it was going to be a very hard thing for me. It was going to be an uphill battle for me to attack. So I figured that there was a space to not only create it, but also build a community around it and get people involved. And I think that was probably my strongest asset, if you will, of feedback. One, testimonials. Two, and then people telling other people that this product works. And social media gives that word of mouth scale, right? So if people are creating content and posting it on their social media platforms, there's, hundreds and thousands of people that follow you and follow all the other people that I reached out to. I didn't know that there was a whole community built around people who are wanting and have the desire to embrace their gray hair, until I went to go look for it, right? So once I started typing in gray hair on my Instagram and seeing all the beautiful pictures of people who said, I've stopped dyeing my hair in 2020. I stopped dyeing my hair. And, I'm 6 months no dye, 8 months no dye. And they're trying to lean into this, whole pendulum swing, if you will,
Mm.
of beauty, and trying to, defy the norms that have been set forth. I just started reaching out to people. On their DMs. And Chris, you were one of them. It was very, for me, I was just shooting my shots. I was like, hey, I got this product. I just want to send it to you. I'm not looking for necessarily nothing in particular. I just, one, would love to hear your feedback about using it. And if you feel like, this is something that you want to support, I'm more than happy to, one, participate in some sort of compensation for that, because I understand, marketing to a point to where, these are advertisements, right? It's not only like gifting you the product, but it's also leveraging your name, image, likeness on your social media platform. And I believe people should be compensated for that, especially your time of what it takes to create a video, to edit a video, to post a caption with your video, and to tell your people who trust you to utilize this product. So I just started getting into influencer marketing, and I knew that having the actual content would serve me long term, because now I have the actual ad creative as well. So it's not only like the post itself, it's, oh, I have the video itself, and I can post a video on my platforms, on my website, in my newsletters, and then put ad spin behind it so that it reaches more people and more people come into the fold.
Yeah, no, I remember when you reached out to me in 2020, and I think you came in at like the most opportune time when you introduced Manhattan Gray, because I think people were reassessing life, and what the purpose of life was, because we were in the middle of a pandemic. Everyone was locked down. No one knew what the hell was going on. Am I going to make it through this? Am I going to die from this? And how can I change my life? Like, what gives me purpose? I think you found one of the things that helped to give you purpose. And then, in you doing that, you create a product for not only yourself, but other people. And then you were able to spread that, the joy, the passion that you had, and allowed other people to share that with the people that they knew. And that's how, all this came about and how it grew. So I can really appreciate your drive, your tenacity, and just to see where Manhattan Gray has come from the very beginning to where it is now, is just been astonishing. And hats off to you in regards to that. Now, I've noticed now you've actually spread your wings a little bit, and you're doing apparel and you're selling stuff on your website. One of the things that I actually really like, I didn't even notice you had this one, but you had the Choose Greatness hoodie sweatshirt, which I think is a nod to yourself, because how you said you love to just wear the hoodies and the hats to cover up, but now you're using it in marketing. How did the apparel come about, and is it a part of your marketing strategy?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, it was a way for me to build community if people wasn't ready, if you weren't ready to try the product, you could at least subscribe to the idea of the community of people who wanted to embrace their gray hair, right? Even if
Yeah.
it wasn't, even if Manhattan Gray wasn't for you yet, right? It
Yeah.
was like, oh, choose greatness was a play on words of like celebrating yourself, right? Celebrating your authenticity, celebrating your individuality, celebrating your greatness in true sense of the word. I
Hmm.
changed the lettering a little bit to kind of go back to the marketing of gray hair, but the idea is still the same. And it was a way for me to build community. So when you see a bunch of people wearing a Choose Greatness t-shirt and or a hoodie, it was just that you may um have the opportunity to build with other like-minded people, right? So
Hmm.
there's a, half of the people who step away from Manhattan Gray is because, oh, I'm not ready to embrace my gray hair, I'm not ready to take that journey, I'm not ready to address the inevitable that my hair is going gray. A lot of people don't want to deal with that. They still dye their
Yeah.
hair, they still, but the fact of the matter is that your hair is going to, you know what I'm saying, like your hair's going gray, period,
Yeah.
right?
99% of us are going to get gray hair. Not there's that
Period.
very small percentage that will never gray, and God bless them. But you know what? I loved everything that you've done so far. What is next for Manhattan Gray? Like, do you see the product line expanding in regards to the hair products? Are you going to be doing more skincare stuff? Like, what's next?
Chris, I honestly keep it 100 with you. I don't know yet because as much as I would like to cast a vision and have all these plans, I'm kind of just in the moment of being really good at the thing that I have right now. Right.
Yeah.
I've been asked several times to create shampoos, to create conditioners, to create a bunch of different things, which would obviously expand the line, give it more options, give people more options. And I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know if
Okay.
I've perfected the things that are in front of me. Like, do I have the absolute best version of the pomade that could potentially be made, right? From a formula perspective, packaging perspective, from a you know, P&L perspective, like how much does it cost for me to get it? How much does it cost for me to make it? Am I selling it at the right price point that people feel comfortable with? Has it gotten into the stores that I wanted to get into? There's so much more life that I could potentially build out with the pomade itself and the hair oil itself that I haven't even gotten to the idea of wanting to expand the line just yet. And a lot of it I'm doing out of my own pocket, as far as like the investment. I don't have investors pouring into to Manhattan Gray as a company to where I just have excess of income to or of capital to
Right.
really and build a whole bunch of different things. And it gets noisy from a distraction perspective. I feel like me focusing on this one thing has given me focus, is giving me clarity, is giving me like direction. And if I feel like if I start building too many different things, I'll get lost in the sauce of just trying to keep up with 10 different things versus one. So I'm just
Yeah.
enjoying the ride right now.
I think that is a great, honest, and level-headed answer. And I think a lot of times, some people's downfalls when they start a business is trying to do too much too fast. Whereas, you have a great product, just keep pouring back into that great product to make it the best that it can be, and then see where you go from there. Now, in regards to like retail, like what is like a dream for you? Like, where would you like to have your product sold outside of online?
I said this on. I want the product to be in Nordstrom. And
Okay.
I don't know if that's like I just one, I shop at Nordstrom, right? And then when I go into to Nordstrom, I see all these, higher end. I do have the aspiration for Manhattan Gray to feel a little bit more higher end than the traditional hair products that are on the in the market. That's why I chose glass jars instead of plastic jars. There's a little bit more weight to it. It kind of looks a little bit more uh I guess, luxury per se. You know what I mean? From a visually, perspective. When it's
Hmm.
standing next to something, I don't know. I have this my toiletry bag is like this brown leather bag, and I always can see myself opening it, and it don't feel out of place. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like, oh, next to my hair clippers, my brush, my amber glass jar of Manhattan Gray feels like it's all in the right spot.
Yeah.
Um, so like I don't know. I think Nordstrom is probably like my one of my big aspirations. Saks Fifth and all that, Saks Fifth Avenue. I wanted to feel one of those premier hair care brands. To also establish the distinguished look of the people that's buying it, right? So if we're coming in, it's usually um, older 35 to 35 and up kind of person, even though that there's plenty premature gray people walking around. The people who typically are interested in buying hair products tend to be my age and above, and I just want to
Right.
make sure that they get something that they feel is of quality and not just another product that they can pick off the shelf.
Well, listen, I can definitely see the product in those stores, and um, I'm hoping that that dream comes true relatively soon because I can definitely see it. And you made mention of how like the product even feels like having it in glass makes a huge difference. It feels like a quality product, and it travels well because I have it in my carry case,
Yeah.
my toiletry bag, and it's nice. You can put it on a counter, and it looks like it fits in with higher end products. It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't, and when I say feel cheap, like the actual physical product, and when you apply it does not feel cheap. It feels luxurious.
Mm.
And I think you're selling it at a great price point. So before we wrap up, is there any words of wisdom that you can give us, the watching public? It could be anything.
Yeah, 100%, man. People ask me all the time as far as like, you know, how much information I had to I started from zero. I started from zero. And I'm not trying to give you guys the traditional, started from the bottom story, started I got it out the mud story. That's not what I'm saying. I'm honestly, in my heart of hearts, I I didn't go to school for beauty. I don't know, anything about manufacturing hair product. I didn't know any of this. All of this was from an idea and a little bit of perseverance, a little bit of patience, good internet connection, what I'm saying, a little bit of time. It was just one step at a time, and it feels tedious. I didn't know anything about how to get a barcode. Figured out how to get a barcode. Didn't know anything about packaging or how to create a package or know where to get the bottles or the lids or the jars. I knew nothing. So when you see Manhattan Gray, it's equally an entrepreneurship story as it is a hair care story. You know what I mean? It's somebody who had an idea. It still trips me out that Manhattan Gray sitting on this desk right now. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, this was just an idea that I had one day. And the fact that there's a barcode on this, there's a box on this, there's plastic in this that's wrapping this box up. If I open this, there's, like there's a jar in here with formula in here, and like a chemist made it. Like, bro, this is the honest representation of hope and a what I'm saying, and the idea. So I just want people to understand that, like, if you have an idea and you have something that is stirring your spirit and gives you purpose, and it serves people and it helps people, pursue that. And there should be no reason that you don't, because we have the basic tools to build almost anything. And that's, information, that's people, that's connectivity, that's social media, that's, Shopify stores, like, which gives you an e-commerce platform to use, Instagram to promote it on, Instagram to connect with people, to find the chemist that you need, anything of that sort. So I just want people to understand, like, um pursue that thing that you're trying to do, because it just requires some time and a little bit of patience on your end.
Yeah. Curry, well, listen, I've always loved your story, and now the audience gets to hear it. And I've always loved your drive. You are a go-getter, you work hard, and to see the progression of Manhattan Gray over these last 3 years has been amazing. And I just love you for what you've done and what you're contributing. And I so look forward to seeing all the things that you do in the future. Again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be able to tell your story. I hope that your story is inspirational and gives people that inspiration. If they have an idea, to don't be afraid to take a risk on yourself and to just do it, because you never know where you're going to end up. We all have to take a chance on ourselves. If you don't do it for yourself, who else is going to do it for you? You know what I mean? But again,
Right.
thank you so much for this. Join me next week for another amazing guest here on Take Two. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one, everybody. Goodbye. Thanks for watching this show on Indie Soup Media. Now, if you're watching here on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and hit the notification button so that you can get notified when we drop new videos every week. See you guys next time.